In the last stream, we were working on tidying up our create power generation system by stripping down the wind turbine and all of the associated cogwheels that we were using to increase the speed of the shafts coming out of that wind turbine. We got rid of all of that and replaced it all with one single electric motor, which is allowing us to turn our redstone flux, being generated by our magmatic dynamos, into stress units, which we're then using for our mechanical mixer. We also managed to replace the encased fan with vector plates here, allowing our mob farm to run much more smoothly and efficiently. And finally, we also got a storage drawer system with a drawer controller up and running and set up a faster Pretty Pipes network using the pipe pressurizer over here to move all of the items from the mob farm out of the vacuumulator and up into their respective storage drawers very quickly. Now, there are a few things I want to work on in today's stream. One of the first things that I would like to look at doing is getting a decent and consistent source of obsidian. Because as you can see right now, our vacuumulator is starting to back up. The reason for that is that a few of the drawers up here are full. For example, over here, we have hit the max of 512 gunpowder and 512 rotten flesh. Now, of course, what we can do here is we can grab, for example, 2 diamonds and some wood, and we can get ourselves another drawer upgrade. In fact, I think we probably have everything it takes to just request the drawer upgrade through our Pretty Pipe network. But this is only a band-aid. This doesn't actually fix the problem, because whilst we can do something like this and increase the capacity of this drawer, we're going to run into the same problem again once that drawer fills up, and that is the vacuumulator backing up on items. Then those items are going to start spewing all over the world. Lag is going to be caused, and it's not going to be great. So in order to fix that, we need to get a decent number of void upgrades. These are going to allow us to delete any excess items that are pumped into a given drawer, basically meaning that once a drawer is full, instead of items getting clogged up in the vacuumulator, they're just going to get sent up to the drawer controller and then be deleted. Now, up until this point, we have not managed to get any obsidian. And while there are a few ways that we could get obsidian fairly easily, for example, we could just take some of the lava that we're producing over here in our magma crucible, place it on the floor, and then put down some water to turn it into obsidian. That's not really a great solution, and it's going to take a long time to get enough obsidian to fill all of these drawers with void upgrades. And going forward, we're going to want even more storage drawers, which are going to require even more void upgrades. And so I would kind of like to get an infinite source of obsidian. So I think the easiest way for us to get an infinite source of obsidian is going to be with the blast chiller. This is a machine from thermal expansion that, if you put lava into it with power, will produce obsidian, slowly but surely. So this shouldn't be too difficult to make. It requires the standard machine frame, 2 invert gears, a redstone flux coil, a glass, and then 2 packed ice. The packed ice we can either make by crafting 9 ice, or we can make by washing 1 regular ice. And then the only tricky bit is getting the actual ice here. And looking at the recipes, I think the easiest option is going to be this one right here, crafting a bucket of water with an ice charge, because this actually leads me quite nicely into the other thing that I want to do at the start of today's stream, and that is craft our first improved mechanical essence. Now, to do this, we need a basic control circuit for mechanism. Those super easy to make. We already have metallurgic infusers down. We can make more of those very easily. Along with the basic control circuit, we need a lightning, fire, earth, and ice charge, and then of course the essence from the previous tier. Now, each of these can be crafted using, I believe, coal and gunpowder, along with one specific mob drop. So we need blizz powder, we need basal's powder, we need blaze powder, and we need blitz powder. And each one of those has a corresponding effigy that we can craft to allow us to spawn those mobs. So the way this works, if we follow the questline here, it says summoning with effigies, the most magic thing in this mod pack. In this mod pack, you can craft special effigies that, when dropped, instantly summon their respective entity. This can be done manually, by right-clicking, or automatically using a click machine. They may require infusing with some specific liquids before they fully awaken their potential, though. So the dormant effigies are fairly easy to make. They require 1 soulstone, which is glowstone, lapis, and redstone, all easy enough, and then 4 calcite, which we can get by putting stone and bone meal in an induction furnace. Now, stone we should have. We got 150. Let's go ahead and request, 64 of those. And then bone meal we don't have that much of, but as per usual, we can go ahead and just grab a stack of bones out of our transmutation tablet, craft those down into actual bone meal, and then if we drop all this into the induction smelter, that's going to slowly but surely produce a bunch of calcite for us. We can, of course, as per usual, make that a little faster, and if we wanted to, we could also get one of the extra integral components from our system and speed the induction smelter up just a little bit. Nice. So once we have those, let's go ahead and see if we can't get a couple of soul stones. These also seem like they should be pretty straightforward, and we should just be able to request some through the Pretty Pipe network. We are missing glowstone dust of all things. Again, that is something we can get out of our transmutation tablet. Let's just dump all of that into there for now and request a bunch of these. And the way that these work here is each one of these is crafted in a similar way, but with a different liquid. For example, the blaze effigy, which is going to allow us to summon a blaze, is made in the fluid encapsulator, another machine from thermal expansion, with the dormant effigy and 1,000 millibuckets of lava. We then have the blizz effigy, which is made in the same way, but with resonant ender. The resonant ender we should be able to get by breaking down ender pearls in a magma crucible. That seems easy enough. And ender pearls we can, of course, get with the philosopher's stone and some iron ingots. We then have the blizz, which is made with glowstone. Again, same deal, glowstone in the magma crucible gets the job done. And then the Basil's effigy is, you guessed it, the exact same, but this time with destabilized redstone, which again is the magma crucible. So if we want to get this to work, we need at least one magma crucible, at least one fluid encapsulator, and at least 4 of these dormant effigies. Now, unfortunately, it looks like these soul stones do not stack, which is less than ideal. Let's go and craft up a couple of these dormant effigies. So if we do something like this and like this, we can get a couple of these going. Thankfully, these do stack. So a quick bit of crafting later, and it looks like we should have everything it takes to make another magma crucible and the fluid encapsulator. So for the time being, we're going to add those to this wall of machines that we have here. We'll place down the magma crucible like so, and the fluid encapsulator right next to it. Now, before we do that, I do want to get the power cable down here, like so, and these should now be good to go. So if we were to get some iron and our philosopher's stone, which I think is in here, it is indeed, we should be able to craft up at least 4 ender pearls. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 ender pearls, if we break them down in the magma crucible, are going to turn into a bucket of resonant ender that we can then send all the way over into here. We turn auto input on, that's going to pull the resonant ender over, and if we do something like this, that should make the effigy. Nice. Okay, so we just need to do that with everything. Now, I think the redstone here does also get you 250 millibuckets. Fantastic. So 4 redstone gets us the same setup there. I think for the lava, we are just going to have to grab one of our buckets and then grab that lava from our magma crucible downstairs. That is not going to be a problem. Let's go and do something like that. And then drop this guy in again. Fantastic. And then the final one here is just glowstone. I'm going to assume that once again, 4 glowstone is going to do the trick. Thankfully, it looks like the magma crucible has been made substantially faster in this mod pack, which I'm very happy about. But that is all 4 of those. Let's claim our rewards. Apparently, that's too many rewards. That is fine. We do get given, by the looks of it, 1 of each of their drops as a reward, which is very nice indeed. Now, in order to craft these fire charges, they're all the same. They're just gunpowder and coal. We actually have a ton of coal and a bunch of gunpowder, and so we should be able to craft, I think, all of those charges very easily. Our inventory is a tiny bit full here, but this should not be too much of a problem. Oh, of course, we have to pulverize these first. Okay, sure. So we have to pulverize each one of these into the pulverized form. Temporarily, I'm just going to steal this integral component and move that over to here to make it a tiny bit faster. But once we have the 4 of these, we should then be able to get somewhere. Now, in order to actually craft this, once again, it's made in the mechanical mixer, just like the previous tier. However, unlike the previous tier here that says no heating required, this tier requires a heated basin in order for the mixer to work, and that is where the blaze burner comes into play. So with this, we have to first craft an empty blaze burner, which is not too hard, 4 iron plates and 1 netherrack, but then we have to right-click that empty blaze burner onto an actual blaze. Once you do that, you get an actual blaze burner, which we can place down beneath one of these basins, like this guy here, and then from there we can heat it using fuel to allow it to burn and allow us to craft the improved mechanical essence. Alright, so once we have all of those pulverized, we now have 3 Blizz, 3 Bazals, 3 Blizz, not to be confused with Blitz, and 3 Blaze Powder. Fantastic. So over here, we can combine all of those with gunpowder and coal to get the 3 different kinds of charges. I'm just going to go ahead and craft all of these into charges because we're going to need, I think, quite a few of these going forward. And of course, at some point, the plan is going to be to try and automate all of this to allow us to automatically craft the next tier of essence. But for the time being, we will claim our rewards and let's see about getting this blaze burner. So iron we have, and the engineer's hammer we can also use here to automatically make those into plates. Netherrack we also have. We've got 1 line around there, although I think we can, yeah, pull more out of our transmutation tablet should we need more in the future. If we do one of these, we can get 4 iron plates. That's going to get us the empty blaze burner. And then what we should be able to do is right-click this blaze effigy just onto the ground, spawning a blaze. We can then right-click that blaze with the blaze burner, and we have a blaze burner. Nice. So what I am going to do here is I'm going to temporarily place this down like this. Let's see if we can't get another basin, which we should be able to do. I think we have a bunch of andesite alloy left. And then do we have what it takes to make another mechanical mixer? I think we definitely should. We're going to need another whisk, which requires 5 iron plates, which I assume, yeah, we do not have. That is fine. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and send those back. Whilst we wait for those to go back, do we have what it takes to make everything else? I think so. I think andesite casing and cogwheels are things that we already have a fairly decent amount of. We do indeed. Fantastic. And so if we do this and hit request, we should be able to get another mixer. And at that point, chat, I think we basically have everything that we need in order to make the next tier of mechanical essence. So the reason I'm putting this here is so that we can temporarily grab a cogwheel and place it down on top of this one. That's going to allow this to spin using the stress units that we're generating from the electric motor. Obviously, at some point in the future, once we set up a new system to automate the production of this improved mechanical essence, we'll end up moving this to wherever we set up that automation. But for the time being, all we need to do now is place all of these items here into this basin and light it up. So I think we've basically got everything here, right? We do need to try and hijack one of these. Easy. Can I drop that in from here? I totally can. Let's drop in 1 of each of these charges. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. That one didn't quite make it in there. That is fine. We can give that one more try. Still no luck. Let's try doing something like that. Fantastic. And so now we're just missing the circuit. We do have a spare metallurgic infuser in here, which I'm going to pull out and place down, you guessed it, on the wall of machines over here, just so that we don't have to interrupt these ones over here that are making steel in order to get anything done. Let's do this and this. And then the basic control circuit is redstone and I believe osmium. Boom and boom. Again, we can give that a light tap with our time in the bottle. And there we go, it's done. Fantastic. So now we can drop this into here. We are good to go. And the way this works is that we just need to give some kind of fuel to the blaze burner. Any kind of fuel that you would normally use in a furnace will work. And so if we were to right click a piece of coal on there, that is going to go ahead and begin burning, and the craft is going to complete. Nice. We can then take that improved mechanical essence and run that through a multi-servo press. We'll use this one for the time being. Again, I will turn off the output slot just so that we don't end up deleting the finalized cube. Unfortunately, this time around, we don't get such a generous influx of EMC. Not that it really necessarily matters. So let's not forget to turn this back on. Not that it really matters, because we already have, 7.62 million EMC. We're not going to run out anytime soon, but we do get 1 extra cube as a reward there, and so in total, just an extra 300,000 EMC to add to the pile. But now that that's taken care of, we have unlocked the ability, if we want, to get started with refined storage. The quest does say my beloved, and it says optional. And I think I'm going to take that optionality to heart here, because I think we can avoid using refined storage entirely. Don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic mod, but it's a mod that's in every mod pack ever, and one that we've played with a ton. And I think we can utilize Pretty Pipes and its auto-crafting, along with mods like RF tools and storage drawers, to automate basically everything that we need to automate going forward, and to access all of our stuff, both in person and wirelessly, without having to use refined storage. Before we do get into that though, let's quickly pivot back and see if we can't get the obsidian machine going. So if we want that blast chiller, again, we need some ice. The ice is just an ice charge and a bucket of water. We do have 9 ice charges here, so let's grab 1 regular old bucket of water. Fantastic, and then we can craft that with the ice charge. That's going to get us 1 ice. Now, in order to craft this 1 ice into a packed ice, we're going to need to get the fan back down. If we had enough ice charges, which we could get, you know, 9 more of these, and then we could try and craft, you know, 18 ice and then just craft it down into packed ice. But I think it's probably going to be a little easier if we just grab our encased fan again and quickly use that as a way of turning our regular ice into packed ice. That way, all we have to do is grab 1 more bucket of water, make 1 more regular ice like this, and then we can just turn both of these into packed ice using the encased fan. Alright, so I've reset up the encased fan. We're going to place the ice on the depot, and then for now at least, we should just be able to crank this temporarily. I think 256 stress units is going to be more than enough to get both of these pieces of ice turned into packed ice. Of course, in the future, ideally, we'd get another electric motor down here to allow us to quickly and easily use this without having to crank for it, but there are our 2 packed ice, and so now, back over here, we should be pretty close to being able to craft the blast chiller. We need 2 invar gears, and we need 1 machine frame. The machine frame we already have, let's request that. The invar we also have in abundance, and then of course iron nuggets we can get from over here. 2 is going to do the job just fine. Let's craft up 2 invar gears and 1 blast chiller. Nice. So then we can also go ahead and potentially get another storage drawer here, actually. Let me get some planks, and let's get another storage drawer. This time we're going to go for another version of the standard storage drawer, but ideally one like this that we can configure to look like our other storage drawers. So if we grab 1 wool and 1 smooth stone, we can then do something like this, and like this, and that's going to be the drawer for our obsidian. We'll put this down probably right about here, because that way we can use 1 mechanical pipe to pull the lava in, and then we can place the drawer for the obsidian on top like so, and it should kind of just be as simple as that. Let's request 1 basic mechanical pipe. We'll place that mechanical pipe down behind the blast chiller. Boom. We'll set the back here to input. We'll set the top to output. We'll turn auto eject to on. And yeah, that is going to slowly but surely produce obsidian. Of course, we can give it an integral component like so. That's going to make it a tiny bit faster. But even though it's slow, this should slowly but surely back up on obsidian. And eventually we will have 2048 obsidian set in this frame drawer ready to be used, and at some point in the near future, we'll look at getting that hooked up to our Pretty Pipes network so that all of the obsidian is available via the crafting terminal. So I think what we're going to do now is go ahead and see if we can't get a void upgrade for every drawer that we have here, and whilst I'm at it, I think I'll also craft up a tier 4 storage upgrade for each of these as well. Actually, never mind. I was going to do tier 4 simply due to the fact that we had access to diamonds. Obviously, we can get these via diamond ore in our transmutation tablet. However, now that we've unlocked the next tier, right here, we've completed this quest, we can tick this off. It says new tier, new materials, you know the deal. And now we get oil clumps, we get emeralds, we get ancient debris, uranium, fluorite, sugarcane, a little late. We also get access to the transmutation interface. The transmutation interface is a useful block that lets your digital storage draw and insert items directly from your EMC table, making EMC links replaceable by refined storage importers/exporters. Interesting. We'll take a look at those at some point in the near future. There's also a quest here that gives us eggs. I'm going to hold off on that just yet because we're going to need those eggs to set up a chicken farm that's going to allow us to make these blaze cakes going forward. We actually need like an unlimited amount of eggs to make an unlimited amount of blaze cakes. So for now, we'll claim our rewards. We'll make sure that we dump all of those into the transmutation tablet so that we have them for the future. And I think instead what we'll do is we will use the tier 5 storage upgrades, because why not? So the void upgrade, super easy. It's 1 upgrade template and 8 obsidian. And as we've seen before, the tier 5 storage upgrade is one upgrade template, 2 emeralds, and 6 sticks. And we're going to try and make one of those for every one of these drawers. All right, so now each one of these drawers has at least one tier 5 storage upgrade and at least one void upgrade. Of course, you can take these out whenever you like if you no longer want them in there. But now, if we ever fill up any of these drawers, instead of clogging up our systems, the excess items are just going to be deleted. And so down here, we should be fine. There are a few items here that we do need to add to our filters. For example, we have managed to finally get some sugar for the mob farm, which was kind of the whole reason that we set it up initially. Obviously, it's no longer necessary, and so we can add it to the destroy pile over here. Boom, and boom. We also need to do the same with carrots. Yes, and iron swords as well. Let's do this and this. Nice. Now, speaking of carrots, actually, there is something that I would like to craft, and that is a sophisticated backpack. If I type in a backpack here, the sophisticated backpacks mod adds, you guessed it, sophisticated backpacks. Now, the cool thing about sophisticated backpacks is that you can add upgrades to those backpacks. So the actual backpack itself is super easy. It's 4 string, 1 chest, and 4 leather. The only thing we don't have there, apparently, is string. However, we can get more string by crafting up some more of our hemp fiber, like so. We'll drop that into one of these chests, and then we'll try that again. Request. Now, the main upgrade that I am after is this one right here, the feeding upgrade, because this will take food out of the backpack and automatically feed it to us so that we don't have to keep eating. And I'm being told by the Twitch chat that this works in combination with the infinite steak, to where we can just place the infinite steak into the backpack with the feeding upgrade, and it will just use EMC to automatically keep us fully fed all of the time. Now, in order to make the feeding upgrade, we need 1 golden carrot, which we should be able to get. We can indeed. We need 1 golden apple, which I believe we should also be able to get. We need 1 upgrade base, which is 4 string, 4 iron, and 1 leather. That all seems easy enough. 1 ender pearl, which again we can make using our philosopher's stone. And then 1 glistening melon, which we currently can't make. However, it appears that we can use the philosopher's stone to turn our pumpkin into a watermelon, and we did manage to get a pumpkin from the wandering trader who came by a few episodes ago. So if we request that, I think we should have everything it takes to make the feeding upgrade. Let's try and get this golden apple going, and then once we got the golden apple, we'll also see about getting that upgrade base. While we wait for that, where in the world did I put my philosopher's stone? I think it's in here. It is indeed. Let's do something like this to get that 1 ender pearl, and I think we should basically be there, chat. I'm going to put these effigies away for now. Of course, we'll come back to those in the future and use them to automate the next tier of mechanical essence. But for the time being, what am I missing? Of course, the upgrade base. We'll hit request, and I think it's probably going to be in our best interest to get pumpkin seeds here. Again, just in case we do need another pumpkin in the future, at which point we can request our iron hoe. We'll also take that to upgrade base there. And then just somewhere around here, if we plant down our pumpkin seed, we can, of course, grab some bone meal. We did just craft a bunch of it, so we might as well use some of that and accelerate this. At which point, I think we can probably time in a bottle the pumpkin stalk. Hey, there we go. Nice. Okay, so I think this did need to be hydrated. So like when I tried using the time in a bottle and it didn't do anything until I used the watering can. So I used the watering can on it. That hydrated the soil and then it grew. So I think the time in a bottle probably does make it faster, but only if you have like hydrated soil underneath it potentially. Or it might just be the case that the watering can made it faster on its own. Either way, we have a pumpkin here. We can actually take the pumpkin that's on the ground, right-click that with the Philosopher's Stone. For now, we'll put that back in here. That gets us a melon, and of course, that melon can be used to get us the glistening melon. Let's just put those away, hit request, and boom, there is our glistening melon. And with that, I think we have basically everything to make the feeding upgrade. Nice. So now, if we put the feeding upgrade into the backpack, which we can do by opening the backpack and placing it in the left slot here, there is a little toggle if you want to turn it off for some reason, but we can leave that there. And then let's do a little bit of running and jumping and see if we can't get our hunger bar to go down just a little bit. And then we can put the infinite steak in the backpack and see if it actually works. Okay, so we've lost a little bit of hunger. Let's open this up and drop the steak in. And then let's see if we automatically get fed here. Look at that. Fantastic. That is very nice indeed. And so going forward, we are never going to have to worry about eating again. We're never going to get low on hunger again. That is fantastic. And just like with our ring here, there is a bobble slot for backpacks. You'll see there it says slot back. And so if we put it right here, we can get the benefit of the backpack without having to take up an inventory slot for it, which is fantastic. And I believe if you wanted to, you can go options, control, keybinds, and type in backpack. And there is an open backpack button. It's set to B by default, which apparently is also set to other keybinds, which we probably don't need, because it would actually be quite useful to store other things in here, like maybe the chisel, the wrench, the hammer, some of the tools that we like to have on us from time to time. I don't think the time in a bottle can go in there. Yeah, you'll see it no longer ticks up in terms of how much time is stored if you keep it in there, which is unfortunate. But having certain things in the backpack, things that we use quite regularly, is going to be quite useful, and it's hopefully going to allow us to free up a little bit of inventory space here. So now that that's taken care of, between streams I did craft up a few more pipes and a few blank modules, because as I've been talking about and alluding to for a while now, I would like to use the Pretty Pipes mod to allow us to auto-craft. Because up until this point, we've been doing a lot of manual crafting, and going forward, we're going to need a lot more thermal expansion machines, and I think it would be ideal if we could start to automate a lot of that crafting, especially things like the machine frames. We need to craft a lot of these. Having these be craftable for us is going to be super useful. Being able to craft things like gears automatically, especially if we could have a multi-servo press down that we could just automatically send items to make those gears, would be fantastic. And that is where the Pretty Pipes crafting module comes into play. These guys right here. So there's a low, medium, and high crafting module, just like all of the other modules in Pretty Pipes. And the idea with these is that you can use them to teach your Pretty Pipes network how to craft something. For example, if we wanted to teach our system how to make gears, we would first need a multi-servo press with a gear working die. So let me go ahead. I'll bookmark all three of these because we're going to need more than one of these tiers at some point in today's stream. But initially, let's see if we can't get the multi-servo press, and we'll get that down somewhere over here. We're probably going to have to move some of these machines now because we have managed to fill up our wall here, but we should be able to automate these gears, I think, fairly easily. So there is our multi-servo press. Temporarily, let's get rid of this fluid encapsulator. I don't really think we need this for anything other than the automation of the basic mechanical components, so we can probably get rid of both of these actually and reuse those when we set that automation up for these effigies. For now though, let's place down our multi-servo press like so, and then let's get a Pretty Pipe going to the top and to the side. So what we're going to do here is we're going to teach our system how to make the tin gears that are required for the machine frame. The way that we do that is we set the top of the multi-servo press to input, and we're going to set the right to output like that. That is a visual glitch. We're just going to reload. That's fine. And then from there, we need our first crafting module. Now, the low crafting module, thankfully, is super easy for us to make. In fact, if we request that, we should have everything. We do indeed. And at that point, we can place that into this pipe, and it's going to allow us to specify one input and one output. So we'll do something like this, and you'll see here, the low crafting module has one input and one output. We are going to specify that 4 tin, 1, 2, 3, 4, equals 1 tin gear. So in here, we'll put 4 tin at the top, and then down here, we of course do need another gear working die. Do we have what it takes to make that? I think the answer is definitely no, because I'm fairly certain that we do not have a gold gear. That we can definitely request, but that we also don't have 4 inval plates either. That's fine. We now do have a universal multi-servo press. We're going to want to make another one of these, of course, to automate the production of plates, but for the time being, we'll start with gears, and then we can work from there. Fantastic. So there is our gear working die. We'll take that, we'll place that into the multi-servo press, and we'll get that tin gear. Fantastic. So in here, we can now specify that 4 tin ingots equals 1 tin gear. The only difference between the crafting modules, they all do the same thing. They can all autocraft, and they all autocraft at the same speed. The only difference is the number of inputs and outputs. So the lowest tier has 1 input and 1 output. The medium, I think, has 4 inputs and 2 outputs. And then the highest tier has 9 inputs and I think 4 outputs. So for more complex crafts, you do need the higher tiers, especially if you're making something that requires a bunch of different items, like a machine frame. This requires 4 different inputs, and so would require at least a medium crafting module. But basically, our system now knows how to make tin gears. So now, over in our crafting terminal, if I type in tin gear, it says that we have 0 tin gears, but if I go ahead and request one, it's going to send 4 tin from wherever it is in the network into the multi-servo press, and then as soon as it's in the output slot, it should pull it from there round and into our terminal. Pretty cool stuff. Now, it's a little janky currently, because if I were to try and add another recipe to this, which we definitely can do, by the way, you can put more than one crafting module into each pipe. For example, I could put another low crafting module in here, and you know what, let's do it. Let's see if we can't get another one of these. And if we were to put that in at the top, let's try and teach it another recipe. We'll say, we'll go for copper gears. So we'll say in here, we'll go to the second one, and we'll say 4 copper ingots equals 1 copper gear, like that. Now, if I were to go back here and type in gear, we can see both of these gears are here, but if I were to request, let's say 2, first of all, let me take the copper gear, tin gears that are in here out of here, just so we don't end up with any confusion. Now, if I were to request a tin gear and a copper gear, the problem we're going to run into is it's going to try and send both, but the multi-servo press obviously can't hold both, and so the copper is going to get sent back to the nearest chest, and over here, it's just going to say awaiting 1 copper gear forever, which is not ideal. However, I think we can get around that by simply putting a chest on top of the multi-servo press. If we make just a standard, regular Minecraft chest, like this, and we put that here, so we're going to take these upgrades out. If we put a chest here, we can then have this be the crafting pipe, for example. So we can go here, we can put in the 2 crafting modules like that, and now all of the items are going to get sent to the chest, and then in here, we can just set this to auto input. So now, over here, we can once again do the same thing. Let's request that gear just to get it out of the system, and then once that arrives, let's request a copper gear and a tin gear. This time, everything is going to get sent to this chest, but now there's basically this giant buffer above the multi-servo press where the copper can wait until the tin gear is done, and then the copper gear gets made. Pretty cool stuff. Now, unfortunately, Pretty Pipes doesn't add its own crafter. However, as I mentioned earlier, our good old friend RF Tools does add crafters. We do also, of course, have the sequential fabricator, and so if there was a recipe you wanted to automate, for example, the machine frame, we could obviously just use the sequential fabricator to craft that. We could do the same thing that we've done here, but instead of telling it to send just copper or just tin, we could say send tin gears, cobblestone, and iron, and that will make you machine frames. However, I think that the crafters from RF Tools are better in that they can craft multiple things. The Tier 1 crafter has up to 2 recipe slots, the Tier 2 crafter has 4 recipe slots, and the Tier 3 crafter has 8 recipe slots, meaning that we could use this to craft 8 different items. The recipe for this has been somewhat tweaked in this pack to require the sequential fabricator, so we are going to have to make a couple of sequential fabricators to make the crafter, but I do think it's worth upgrading because the crafter is not only faster, but it's also more easily customizable as well. And thankfully, it's not too difficult to make. The redstone torches are easy. The machine frame is 2 blue dye, 2 gold nuggets, and 4 iron. And then the sequential fabricators we've seen before. It's the same usual stuff. It's a redstone flux coil. It's a machine frame. It's crafting tables, gears, and ingots. All right, so there are 6 sequential fabricators. With those, we should be able to craft the highest tier of crafter. So let's get some blue dye. Let's get some gold nuggets. And let's craft up a couple of these machine frames. Again, we're going to need more than one. We're going to need more iron. And we're also going to need some sticks as well, because the sticks are going to be needed to make the redstone torches. That is fine. Give me at least 3 of these, and then let's see if we can't make this happen. I think we need 6 redstone torches as well. We can craft up a tier 1 crafter, then a tier 2 crafter, and then a tier 3 crafter. Nice. So this guy is pretty nifty. You can place it down. It does require power, but it has 8 recipe slots, and so you can teach it 8 different crafting recipes. Now, where I'm going to put this is going to be interesting. We have to think about where we're going to put this, because in order to get the maximum use out of this, we're going to need multiple pipes on it, because of course, as we saw here, there's only 3 slots for crafting. So if we wanted to get the optimal amount of crafting recipes out of this thing, we're going to have to put 3 pipes on it, and then we're also going to need 1 pipe for extraction. So we're probably going to want to have 1, 2, 3 pipes on, like this, all with crafting cards in them, and then we're going to want to have a pipe on the bottom that extracts the item background to the system. So let's put it here for now. This is definitely going to be moved, by the way, very shortly. We're going to have to overhaul a lot of this to make it work, but let's do something like this. And let's just run this along to connect this up. Ideally, not connecting to this machine here. And also ideally not connecting to this chest here either. You can just right click to get rid of a connection. So over here, this guy also does need power of some persuasion. And so in what might be the jankiest thing you've ever seen, I'm going to run some power up through the floor here. So this is all connected up. Let's see if we can't get a few of these crafting modules. So ideally, I'm going to start by seeing if we can't automate the crafting of machine frames. I think this is very doable. This does require 4 inputs and 1 output though. So as I mentioned before, we're going to need a tier 2 version of the low crafting module. That's fine. It's just the tier 1 version with iron and gold. So we'll send this one back. We'll do something like this and we'll hit request. Let's take this and let's place it into here. So in here, what we're going to do is we're going to double click to edit this recipe. And if we shift click the machine frame here, so we can shift and click on the move items button, that's going to load this recipe in and we can hit apply. So now this crafter knows how to make the machine frames. And if we were to put in a tin gear, 4 cobblestone and 4 iron, it would craft it. Let's just make sure that works. We'll put in 1 tin gear, we'll put in 4 cobblestone, and we'll put in 4 iron. Boom, look at that. It made a machine frame. Fantastic. So now all we need to do is in here, if the thing you're making is just a crafting recipe, you can do the same thing here where you go to the medium crafting tab and you just shift click the move items button and it will load that recipe in. So now over here, if we type in machine frame, it is available. And currently we have no tin gears in here, but the Pretty Pipe system is pretty smart about it in that if we go ahead and request a machine frame, it is going to first request a tin gear. So it's going to send 4 tin to this chest. It's going to make that tin gear, and then that tin gear should get sent around into the crafter as well, and a machine frame, look at that, it's moving. A machine frame should be made. And then as soon as it's made, it gets sent back around over to the system. Very cool. So there are a couple of problems that can arise here. The first is that right now, the Pretty Pipes system is automatically extracting from here, but the reason that it's doing that is because it's kind of just reading this as an inventory that it can pull from. And so I've requested a machine frame, and as soon as a machine frame becomes available, it just pulls it from wherever it can. The problem that can arise is if you try and teach your system to craft something that makes more than one thing. For example, the chute here from Create, when you craft it, you get 4 chutes. If you leave the system as it is, so for example, if I just taught the system here how to make chutes like that and hit apply, I could now put in a card and teach the card how to make chutes. But if I requested 1 chute, it would make all 4. All 4 would sit here in the output slot, and only 1 of them would then be extracted and put into my crafting terminal, which is not ideal. And so what I think we're probably going to do to make our lives a little easier is I think we're going to use ender chests to get items back into the system. So my plan here is to utilize, we're going to move this temporarily just to make things a little easier, but my plan is to extract from the crafter, probably using a different pipe mod. We could potentially use the logistical transporters from Mechanism, but we're going to extract from the crafter into an ender chest. And then I think what we'll do is we'll put that ender chest over here, and we'll have that ender chest pipe into the drawer controller. That does mean we're going to have a storage drawer slot for all of the items that we want to auto-craft, but I think that's probably a good thing to have because it means that if, for example, we do craft something like the chute, any extra chutes that we don't need are just going to sit in their respective storage drawer until we actually need them. Now, ender chests should be fairly easy for us to make, especially now that we have access to those blaze effigies. It's just an ender pearl, a chest, some wool, some obsidian, and 4 blaze rods. So the 4 blaze rods are just going to be 4 blaze effigies, which we should be able to do, right? We've got 3 dormant effigies here. We can go ahead and make another dormant effigy just as soon as we get another soulstone. And then let's go ahead and replace down these machines here. We'll get our effigies in like that, and we'll grab our lava from here. Once we have the 4 blaze effigies, we then have a choice. We could go ahead and fight the blazes to try and get the blaze rods. However, one other quest over here is the peaceful route option. It says whether you're playing on peaceful mode or just don't want to hurt these innocent creatures, the sawmill can extract the materials directly from the effigies without spawning the mob at the cost of potential efficiency. So we do have a sawmill in our system. We made it right at the start of the series in order to make planks, but we can take this sawmill And again, we're kind of running out of space up here, so I'm going to put it down here for the time being. We can take the sawmill, and we can use that to automatically extract the blaze rods from the blaze effigies. Once we have 4 rods, we can make ourselves at least 1 ender chest here. We do want the ender chest from the ender storage mod, because these ones you can pipe into and out of automatically, whereas the ones from vanilla Minecraft cannot be piped into and out of automatically, although they are cheaper. And of course, now that I think about it, we are going to need to make 4 more blaze rods, because we need 2 ender chests to actually do anything. But I think we should have basically everything that we need here. The only thing we might not have is obsidian, because right now our Pretty Pipes network doesn't have access to it, but we do have 210 down here and counting. And so if we do something like this, it's just a regular Minecraft chest that we are missing. That is fine. Let's do something like this, and like this, and boom. There's our first ender chest. Let's see if we quickly can't grab another one, and then we'll use that over here to automate our crafter. Alright, so there is our second ender chest. And so, as I mentioned, the plan here is going to be to connect up the crafter to the ender chest. Let's do something like this to connect that up. And then we do want to make sure, of course, that this doesn't connect like that at all. And then all we need to do now is get one of our logistical transporters. In fact, we have 8 of them. I'm probably going to go ahead and just upgrade to the next tier of logistical transporter, because it's not going to be that expensive, and we do have our metallurgic infuser over here. We can throw in 1 redstone and 1 iron, and hopefully very quickly here get the infused alloy required to upgrade to the next tier of logistical transporter. Once we have those, we can do this, and we can set the top there to output. I have started adding, slowly but surely, all of the things like these pipe wrenches to my backpack here, so we can access them as and when we need them. The only thing I currently do not have in here, though, is my configurator. So if we can find that real quick, we can then set this to wrench mode and set this to extract. Nice. So I think this should work. Let's give it a try here. So I think one of the things, or the first thing by far, that we should teach our system how to make is all of the things required for the Pretty Pipes network. So if we go to @Pretty Pipes, I think we should teach our system how to make the pipes themselves. I think we should teach our system how to make the blank modules. And I think we should probably also teach it how to make the crafting modules. That way we can just start to request these things. And that's going to make this whole setup much faster. Before we do that, let me connect up our network here. So down here, we have our pipe pressurizer. I think what we should be able to do is, if we grab our pipes wrench, I'm going to disconnect these pipes here temporarily, because I'm going to run these up to connect to our main network. That's going to give us one main benefit, and that is that it's going to allow us to move items up here around much faster, because now everything is connected to the pipe pressurizer. And the items should still go into here. All of the items from the mob farm should still go into here, mostly because it is the nearest location. However, at some point in the near future, we'll also start to look at utilizing the low priority and high priority modules so that we can really fine tune where we want items to go. For now, though, let's see if we can't get a lot of this stuff automated. So right now, if we wanted to automate the blank modules, we first need to teach our system how to make the pipes, I guess. So let's unbookmark a lot of stuff over here, and then let's bookmark the pipes, the blank modules, and then the low, medium, and high crafting modules. So to automate the pipes, first of all, we're going to need a couple of these medium crafting modules. I do believe we have modules in here. We do. We got 6 of them. Let's take all 6 of those, and let's craft them all into low crafting modules, because we can always upgrade those to higher tier crafting modules if we so wish. So over here, let's do this. And in fact, I think right away we can basically upgrade all of those to the medium crafting modules, because there's very few recipes that are just one-to-ones, especially when you're actually crafting recipes and not just using a machine. So over in here, let's teach this guy. We don't need to know how to make a chute just yet, at least. So we'll teach this recipe right here. Of course, this recipe requires that our system knows how to make iron bars. And so let's go ahead and teach it how to make iron bars as well. Apply. We can then teach it how to make the blank module. Apply. That is going to require that we teach it how to make the stone slabs. Apply. Of course, that's also going to require that we teach it how to make stone, which we can, of course, do using the advanced smelting factory. We'll get to that in just a second. For now, we should have enough stone to make all of that work. Iron nuggets, it doesn't need to know, because iron nuggets are provided by the compacting drawer. And then from there, down here, we can just teach it the low. Apply. We could do the medium and the high, but I think we should probably do the medium. And then this one requires a crafting table, right? We need to teach it how to do this recipe right here. Apply. So now we need to get ourselves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 crafting recipes. So we have 1 in here. Actually, we've got 6 more. So let's see if we can't get a lot of this stuff taught in. So we'll do 2 more here, like this, and we'll start teaching it these recipes. So we can encode that one. That's fine. We can encode this one here. That is fine. Over on the back, we'll do the same thing. We'll put in all 3 of these cards, and then we'll do the slab, which is a 1-to-1, so we could have used a low for that, actually, but it also doesn't matter if you use too high of a module. The iron bars, and then this guy, and then over on the last one here, we'll put in this, and let's teach it how to make the crafting table, which again is actually a 1-to-1. So over here, let's have a look. I think we should be able to request low crafting modules, and it should go through the whole process of crafting the crafting table, the blank module, the pipes if needed, the stone slabs if needed, the iron bars if needed, all of it. Let's see if it actually works and if we've missed any of the steps. Obviously, everything is now moving much, much faster, which is fantastic. All of the stuff is going to get put in the ender chest. That does remind me that in order for all of this to work, we need to be able, we need to actually have our ender chest down and accessible. Right now, if I just put the ender chest like right here, that is going to make things accessible to the system. And the final item should end up in here once it's done. It did get made, however, it got put in this chest right here. I think this is the module that we just requested. So to fix that, there's a few things that we can do. I think what I'm going to do is, I was going to say we could put a high priority module on the crafting terminal, but I think what's going to be a better idea is putting low priority modules on these chests. Because in an ideal world, we want anything going into a storage drawer first if it can, and if it can't, then we want it going into a chest. So what I think I'm going to do is we're going to move these chests. Now, we do have the carry-on mod installed, which allows you to get real close and shift right-click to pick up certain blocks. You might have seen me accidentally do this a few times throughout the course of the series, but if you just walk up and shift right-click, we can very easily move these chests over and elsewhere. And I think what we'll do as well is we will make probably another diamond chest just for symmetry's sake. So we'll do this, and by this I mean this, and then let's make a couple of upgrades. We'll do wood to iron, we'll do iron to gold, and then we'll do gold to diamond, and we'll see about using those upgrades to upgrade this chest here, make it more accessible. We can then hook all 4 of these up with pipes and then give them all low priority modules to allow us to send items there last. So all the chests are down. We've upgraded this one to diamond. Let's run pipe to all of these. Fantastic. Now, at this point, this should just work, I think. Also, let me quickly move basically all of this junk out of my inventory, and then we can also do the same thing here. We can move all of the new stuff that's left in this chest out of here as well, because we're going to get rid of this chest, of course. It doesn't need to stay here. Let's get rid of you. But everything from the ender chest should now go into our crafting terminal automatically, because it's just the closest inventory. And of course, this sawdust drawer also no longer needs to be here. In fact, what we'll do is we'll just move all that sawdust over into one of these drawers, like so, and then we can just go ahead and get rid of this guy on a permanent basis. We could throw it into the void, but you know what? I'm going to put it in a chest because we might need it to make an upgrade or something like that in the future. But now, if I were to request, let's say, I don't know, 5 of these low crafting modules, all of the items should zip around from where they were before. It also doesn't really matter that these chests are so far away now, because we do have that pipe pressurizer, which allows things to get here nice and quickly. The first one got here super fast because we already had that one available to us. The remaining 4, look at that, done, perfect. And so we can use that same methodology going forward to automate really anything that we like. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is not really how I want this to play out. I think what we're probably going to do is move the ender chest over to, say, here. And then we can use another advanced logistical transporter to pull out of that ender chest, round and into the storage drawers, like this. We're going to need a lot more storage drawers if we want to do it this way, but I think it's probably the best way to go about it, because basically now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to dedicate a slot to each stage of the crafting operation. There is a way we could make this faster if we wanted to. So like right now, if we want to make a blank module, the system first has to make stone slabs, and the way that it currently works is the stone slabs, the stone is sent from our chests around into here, the stone slabs are made, they go out to the ender chest and then get sent back around into the crafter, which works but is not ideal. What we could do if we wanted to is we could change the way that the crafter works here. So by default, this button says results of the crafting operation will go to the output buffer. If we change this to results of the crafting operation will stay in the input buffer, that means that once the stone slabs are made, they get put straight back into the crafter. That would be fine if the only thing we wanted to use the stone slabs for was crafting blank modules. I don't think I'm going to do it though, because I think it's going to be better for us in the long run, even though it takes a little longer, to have those stone slabs available just in case any other recipe needs them. And so I think instead, even though it's going to be a little janky, and by a little janky I mean potentially very janky, I think we should instead just get a drawer for each item. So, you know, we get some stone slabs, we put those stone slabs in over here somewhere, and we have a drawer ready for them. Now, the storage drawer system is quite good in that you can connect any drawers to the drawer controller so long as they're in a 12 block radius of the drawer controller. So it means you can go 12 blocks out in each direction, which means if we wanted to, we could grab some more drawers, and we do have a ton of them ready to go here. Let's grab, let's say all of them. But if we wanted to make it work but look less bad, we could potentially put some drawers on the back like this. Obviously, whoops, don't fall into the void. Obviously, these are filling up with junk, which is not what we want. What we want to do is we want to request our drawer key. And we want to make sure that these are locked to empty. So let's take all of that out and let's lock you again. Also, if you have the key in your offhand, when you place the drawer down, it will go down automatically locked, which is fantastic. So we can do something like this. It shouldn't matter that these connect, although if we wanted to, we could go ahead and disconnect those pipe connections just in case they do end up causing problems for us in the future. And now we can start putting things like slabs into certain drawers, and now going forward, that should be fine. The reason why we have extra slabs, by the way, that were just placed into a drawer is because of that very reason. We requested a couple of crafting upgrades, but we had excess slabs. And those excess slabs are what the problem is, right? Because those excess slabs mean that we either end up filling up our ender chest. So if we just left the ender chest over here, it would slowly but surely fill up with slabs and then become unuseful. Or we could have a system where the slabs just end up backing up inside of here and causing the same problem. Neither is what we want, and so I think the solution is to have those slabs go through into their own drawer, and that way in the future, should we need more of them, instead of requesting that they be crafted, the system's just going to pull them from the drawer controller. So let's try and make sure we can get this to work. Let's get some more iron bars, and we'll get a drawer down for iron bars as well. We then need a drawer for crafting tables. We are also going to need one for all of the output products as well here. So like pipes are also going to need one like here. And then we're going to need one for blank modules and for the crafting modules. But thankfully we can just go ahead and request that blank module now. And that blank module should just end up, I think, in this ender chest for the time being, because it can't go through the drawer controller setup. Yeah, there it is. Fantastic. But we can then place that into its own drawer, at which point it should be basically instantly pulled out and sent round to here because we just requested it. The same thing we can do with the crafting module. Let's put you right about there. And if I have done my job correctly, which I think I have, we should now be able to request really as many crafting modules as we like, and the system should just work. It should send all the items around to the crafter. All the crafting is going to get done. You're going to see a few items fly around a few times, but in a fairly short period of time, definitely a faster period of time than it would have taken us to craft all of these manually, we're going to get a bunch of these low crafting modules. Look at that. Fantastic. And the idea is that going forward, we can expand our system to automate a ton of stuff, right? We can get down a second multi-servo press, one that's going to be used to make plates, and we can then start to automate, and we could automate the creating of multi-servo presses, right? I do think that one of the next things that we should do is get a second crafter and then teach the system how to make these crafters, right? So if we can get another tier 3 crafter made, we can then teach it how to make the sequential fabricator. It already knows how to make the gears here, but we can teach it the redstone flux coils. It already knows crafting tables. It already knows copper gears. We can then teach it the actual recipe for the sequential fabricator, the recipe for the tier 1, 2, and 3 crafter, and we can automate those to expand out further. We are, of course, going to need a ton more base space if we're going to get a bunch of these down, because we are going to need a lot of these tier 3 crafters to do a lot of this automation. But I think that's fine. I think we can get a nice large area going. We can put down a little farm of these crafters. Thankfully, we can share ender chests here. We can have all of the crafters go to the same ender chest. One thing we probably do want to do with the ender chests is shift right click a diamond onto the little nose at the front there, because that is going to lock the ender chest to us, right? Right now, if anybody else on the server were to put down a white ender chest, they would be able to access all of our stuff. Not that they necessarily would, but if they're trying to do it for their automation and stuff, it's going to break fairly easily. And so we can just do this, and now this is locked to us. So only we can use this ender chest, and if anyone else tries to use the same network, it's not going to interfere with our setup. So I think this is good. It is definitely pretty janky, and it's more work than a refined storage system, but I think it's worth it. I think it's nice to mix things up every once in a while, to try out new mods and to tinker with new things, and not everything has to be, despite what you might think reading the YouTube comments, not everything has to be hyper efficient all of the time. We don't have to do things in the most efficient way possible. We can do things in ways that are different and interesting, I think, at some points in our lives, right? But yeah, I like this. This is cool. So next time, chat, we will come back and we'll look, I think, at probably doing some ore processing. Now that we have this automation in place, I do want to look at, first of all, obviously expanding it. So next time we'll come back and we'll see about getting some more crafters down and doing some more automation. But I do also want to start looking at processing all of our ores centrally. I mentioned it before, but right now we're doing, you know, iron processing here and over here. I want to centralize that and take advantage of the pack's vast ore processing capabilities. If you do all of the things in this chain, we can get 25x ore processing, meaning we get 25x ingots for every single one raw iron or raw copper or raw tin or raw osmium, whatever it is that we put into the system. I don't think we're going to get 25x next episode, but I do think that next time we come back, we can get very easily 10x ore processing up and running, and then using the Pretty Pipes network, we can also use these guys right here, these retrieval modules, and those are basically going to allow these machines to request the iron. So right now we, of course, have iron just coming out and being sent through this energized smelter, but if we put a Pretty Pipe on here, and we put a retrieval module in it, we can basically tell these machines to pull the iron from its compacting drawer, and that compacting drawer is going to get its iron from our 10xing ore processing, which is not only going to make our system more efficient in terms of EMC, but it's also going to allow us to expand more easily without having to make a bunch more EMC links, a bunch more energized smelters, or anything like that, right? Chat is correct. Real quick, I would like to do one more thing before we leave, and that is make the Morning Star. The pack creator mentioned this to me a little while back. It is a little expensive, but it's basically an Omni tool that can do all of the things that a red matter pickaxe can do and more, and I'm told that it's also faster as well. So let's grab some red matter out of here, and then if we want to make the shovel, we do need some dark matter and some diamonds. That's fine. And then the hammer is also, yeah, more dark matter and more diamonds. That is fine. Temporarily, we can take a stack of all three of these. We're not going to keep that stack because that has taken quite the large chunk out of our EMC, but let's do one hammer, one shovel. We'll upgrade those to the red matter versions of the shovel and the hammer. And then can we do one of these? We totally can. Fantastic. Let's dump the rest of you back into here. And let's, of course, charge that up to the max. Fantastic. And yeah, I think this should be pretty fast, actually. That's nice. It works on the dirt, which is good. Earlier I had to manually break all of this dirt over here. I am out of Eternalist fuel. Thankfully, this is now very fast. Good stuff. And yeah, this should be good. Let me check on the stone, maybe? Yeah, that's so fast. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So going forward, we can use that as our primary method of... I always click the wrong button there. As our primary method of breaking everything. We do have to be a little careful with it to make sure that we don't end up breaking too much that we don't want to break. But next time we'll come back, we'll work on some more auto crafting. We'll hopefully get some 10x ore processing up and running. And then after that, we can push forward into getting the automation for the improved mechanical crystal. And then move on, of course, to advanced mechanism and seeing about getting that advanced mechanical crystal. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's stream there.